It is very hard to study ancient Armenian musical culture. The early Armenian folk and sacred music was of monophonic style, which is a basic element of virtually music of all cultures. The great Soviet Russian composer and theorist Rubin said, monophony in its simplicity can be of greater artistic value than the more complicated polyphonic music. Early Armenian music started to develop at the countryside, where the dominating genres were the music pertaining to farming and husbandry. The farmer's songs revolved around few themes. The farmer would talk with his animal as he would talk to his friend, since this animal was his family's only source of subsistence. He would control his work by several vocalization techniques and would pray to the Lord to ward the evil away. In these songs, the most significant themes were the love themes. The shepherd would be alone in the fields dreaming about his beloved and composing songs praising her beauty and virtues. The shepherds would also govern their livestock by singing and playing musical instruments like the fleda. One such instrument popular among Armenian shepherds is the flute. The dance music called kochar also belongs to the shepherds. This type of music is characterized by masculinity and strength. Wedding and funeral music has also originated in the ancient times. Funeral music is almost extinct today. However, in some villages, it is still practiced in its original form. The wedding music has been subjected to many changes in accordance with the changes in traditions and adoption of new and foreign customs. The funeral music is known by the name of elegy and dirge. During the mourning ceremonies, the mother of the deceased is the main person who mourns. She wails and laments the death of her son or daughter. The Hamailnir belong to the ancient times as well. They were very popular with the priests of the pagan times, as well as the representatives of Ayrenakans. These have not been preserved at all. One can only find them in the archaic songs. It was during these times that the Armenian laud started to form, that is the base of vocal music. It is a type of monody characterized by specific intonations, a sort of folksy sacred chant with improvised harmony. The tonal system in the East was established very long time ago. Hindus called their system raga, Egyptians and Greeks nam, and later on Arabs called it mugham. Unlike other branches of Armenian music, country folk music fits within the common tonal system. The Armenian culture was enriched in the 8th and 7th centuries BC due to flourishing interactions with all the ancient Eastern civilizations of the time. The country folk music, instrumental music, art of novelism, pagan temples, and Hellenistic theater music developed. The elaborate theatrical ceremonies dedicated to the god Ara, which celebrated the beginning of spring, were accompanied by music. The chanting of the folk tales dedicated to the hero Tork Anger is very impressive. There were also the ballades of heroic fights between Haik and Bel. Many praising songs were created for Aram, Arakeretik, and Shamiram, and Vahakan Vishapakar. All these legends were mentioned by the Armenian historian Moses Khorenati, who referred to them as dialogues, songs, legends, and kusanakan, which means the singing of lyrical poetry. In the 5th century, folk songs of the rural areas dominated the musical culture. Along with the development of farming, orchard growing, and vine growing, music related to these functions developed as well. Some examples of this type of music have been preserved in the folk music that we have inherited today. However, most of it disappeared after the adoption of Christianity because they contained pagan elements. Some were saved as they were absorbed in the Christian traditions. In time, the farmer songs developed, and besides the songs of the farmers, the residence or dwelling songs of the hearth were also introduced, which were related to women's household chores such as smashing legumes, thread weaving, and so on. There were also songs dedicated to the religious festivities like Can Gülüm, Vartaval, and Navasat. Dance music also flourished during this time, and the most vibrant representatives are preserved by the people of Sassoon. The slavery period and the period following that, the wedding ceremonies became very significant. The major part of the ceremony was theatrical, which played a big role in the preservation of the wedding songs. The wedding ceremony lasted few days and was composed of few parts. Some of these traditions are still practiced, like the engagement ceremony, attending the church, display the dowry, dressing the bride, having musicians at the party, begin the party in the bride's house, and by a procession of singing and dancing people, go to the groom's house. The most notable part of this ceremony was the singing lament of the bride as she was singing her farewell song. They would compare the groom with the king and praise his strength, good ethics, and his good features. The origins of classical or professional music dates back to this period. This period gave birth to musicians and poet professionals, gusans, which were the medieval minstrels of Europe. Legends and epics were composed and performed by lyrical poets who were related to gusans. The historical narrative poems were sung by the accompaniment of plucking instrument called tandir. Until the feudalistic period, the gusans would perform for the public, the lords, and the rulers. The gusans were multi-talented people. They would perform alone or together with a group of singers, performers, and dancers. The gusans were professional dancers as well, since they were trained in professional dancing schools. They would perform in front of the public, declamation of poetry, and theatrical acts with the accompaniment of music. The public loved and cherished the gusans. The work of the gusans can be called repertoires by its nature and performance method, and was close to the theater of the mimas. The gusans were males and females as well. The female gusans were called bartaks. The work of the court gusans was more elaborate and rich, since they were constantly subjected to foreign influence. In the pagan Armenia, the use of musical instruments was flourishing concurrently. Many Eastern musical instruments were in use, such as the pantir, lyre, harp, hobios, which are predecessors of zurna and duduk, woodwind instruments, and a vertical flute. Different variations of the drum, the whole and top, have also originated in this period. Armenians used to use khushots, which are similar to the Egyptian sistra, for religious purposes, since it was believed to ward off the evil from the altar. This custom was adopted by the Christian religion as well.